Welcome to Location, Cabrini College's weekly news program. I'm Sarah Luckert.
And I'm Bethany Bigenhill. Here's your news now.
Graduation's around the corner, and interviews are the topic of conversation. Let's see how body movement and eye contact can impress your potential employer.
People to be conscious about what you're communicating non-verbally. We often spend a lot of time sort of practicing and thinking about what we're going to say, but we're also giving off a lot of information, even without saying anything, or regardless of what we're saying, our body language can communicate. So your posture, if you're standing upright versus slouching down, if your arms are folded versus open, if you're making that eye contact when you're talking to someone or if you're in an interview, that can communicate sometimes more than what the words are that are actually coming out of your mouth. When you first meet somebody, or let's say you're having a conversation with somebody and you're just getting to know them, unconsciously we have a tendency to copy or mimic other people's behavior. And it's things like, like if I shift to this side, then you'll shift to that side. Or if I touch my hair, you'll touch your hair. If I start swaying, you'll start swaying. And it's kind of silly, when you see it, you can sort of laugh at it. But we do it unconsciously. And what happens is that person will like you more when you do that. So people who have a tendency to do that more often when in their interactions, they're actually rated, like people will rate them as more likable, more friendly, somebody that you want to be friends with or get to know better. When you look people dead in the eye, we really take that as a sign of strength. You're confident, you are engaged, you're connecting with me and looking me in the eye. And also we interpret, if someone's not doing that, there's the negative association, so that you could take it as they're not interested, but also that they aren't confident, that they don't feel worthy, or they don't feel like they really belong sort of in that interaction. Another one that I use this example in class because I think it's kind of funny, but it's true. It's what we call conversational distance. So it's how close you stand to someone when they're talking. And there's great variability in terms of what's the norm. So there's some places where you should be, if you're interested in talking to the person, you should be close enough where you can feel their breath on your face. And if you're not, then that's considered rude. You're not interested in talking to them. Whereas here, if someone is that close in your face, you would probably, sort of take a step back, and you would maybe think the person was a little bit creepy, they're invading your space, they're weird. We'd have all these negative associations. Even within the United States, regionally, you have different customs or traditions around body language that, that could easily be misinterpreted in terms of your interactions.
A new pub and eatery is opening King of Prussia this week. The infamous Tilted Kilt that started in Las Vegas will be offering live entertainment and specials all week. So if you're looking for a new place to eat, the fun and festive Celtic-themed restaurant is right across from the King of Prussia Mall. In other local news, Villanova University's plan to expand its parking garage along Lancaster Avenue stirred up many objections during a Radnor community meeting last week. Radnor's Director of Community Development said that Villanova's plans are far from scale. The main issue is traffic safety, considering a recent study that has shown that over 1,000 trips are taken on Lancaster a day. Villanova will be asked to reconsider relocating their garage. Here's every family's nightmare. When 31-year-old Bryn Mawr resident Valerie Angeline was found dead with multiple stab wounds in her West Philadelphia apartment earlier this week, Homicide Sergeant Tim Cooney said the suspect was most likely someone Valerie used to date. Valerie's father found out about his daughter's death while watching NBC 10. That was your trip around the block. Let's go across the nation with Bethany.
Attention around the killing of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin continues to spark national concern. The incident happened on February 26th when a neighborhood watch volunteer, George Zimmerman, shot the unarmed teenager, claiming it was out of self-defense. Prosecutors in Florida continue to sort out the facts of the case, and the local sheriff has taken a leave of absence from his job. This past Monday, there were 18 rallies and many more continued to occur across the country. State and federal officials are still investigating. The much-anticipated Supreme Court hearing on President Obama's health care debate ignited many divided views between the court's justices. The 2-hour oral argument over whether the U.S. government has the power to make Americans buy medical coverage reveals clear supporters from liberal justices, while conservative justices were visibly against it. The heated debate reflected outside the courthouse as clashing protests were taking place. The ruling is expected by late June. A bad scene out of a movie became a reality for passengers on a JetBlue flight earlier this week. The flight from New York to Las Vegas made an emergency landing after the captain started acting erratic. According to Federal Aviation Administration, a concerned co-pilot locked the door after the captain left the cockpit. Videos declare he was screaming things about Iraq and bombs. Flight attendants and passengers subdued the captain on the plane down to the ground. The captain is now receiving medical care under FBI custody. Here's Sarah for your trip around the world.
The threat of nuclear terrorism has President Obama alarmed and irritated with North Korea. Despite recent warnings from President Obama, North Korea says it plans to carry out a satellite launch, insisting its peaceful purposes. During Obama's visit to South Korea this week, he said that if North Korea moves forward with the launch, it would deepen their isolation. The launch is seen as a ploy by North Korea to cover up long-range missile tests. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev scolded U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney for saying Russia is the #1 geopolitical foe of the United States. Moscow has long resisted U.S. plans for missile defense system in Europe. Obama recently suggested a future deal having more flexibility on the missile defense issue. President Obama, along with Russia, were subjects of Romney's severe criticism. The Russian president advises Romney to check the time period and use his head. James Cameron, best known for directing A-list movies such as Titanic and Avatar, accomplished a dream this past week when he became the first man to complete the solo dive to the ocean's deepest point, the Mariana Trench. About 7 miles underwater, it took nearly 2 hours to safely descend to the ocean floor. Cameron has spent 7 years planning this mission, from designing the submarine vessel to be decked out with 3D cameras, to practicing yoga to mentally prepare for the long-term isolation in a claustrophobic space. Cameron plans to revisit the trench soon to continue his exploration of the deep, with plans to create a documentary to be featured on National Geographic. With the increase in technology, students have discovered new forms of bullying. Let's see how students are dealing with the behind-the-screen cyberbullying. Cyberbullying comes in many forms and it affects many people. Over 25% of adolescents and teens have been bullied repeatedly through their cell phones and internet, according to the National Crime Prevention Council. Spreading rumors, posting threats, and sending hurtful messages is just the beginning. Bullying always leads to more. Take action. If you see someone being bullied, report to the closest authority figure. Visit stopbullying.org for more information. This message has been brought to you by LOQation Weekly News Program.
Now let's go to Jimmy for this week's Tech Connection.
Flash drives may soon become a thing of the past. According to Science Daily, there is a new form of memory cards called 3D memory. These new cards are small, transparent, flexible, and durable, being able to withstand temperatures of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The characteristics of this chip open up a whole new spectrum of possibilities for future technology. The memory chips are patented, and the creators are now in talks with various manufacturers about their placement in products. NASA recently launched 5 suborbital rockets just over 60 miles above the Earth's surface to study the upper-level jet stream. These rockets release chemical tracers while in the jet stream, which scientists hope will give them a better understanding of wind patterns, enabling them to create satellites that will be more apt for the conditions up that high in the atmosphere. That's all I have for you this week. Make sure to tune in next week to see my review of the new iPad.
Let's check in with Mary Kate for this week's lacrosse update.
After a week off from competition, the Cavaliers began CSAC play. The offense of the Cabrini College men's lacrosse team scored 24 goals by 15 different players in Saturday's 24-1 victory over Shenandoah University. Brian Hill was the ace of the game, contributing 5 goals and 4 assists. Hill, a 2-time All-CSAC selection, surpassed the 100 career goal mark during his time with the Cavaliers. The Cabrini College women's lacrosse team had a 17-0 victory over Rosemont College. The Lady Cats outshot the Ravens for the game 32-10. The win improved their record to 3-1 in CSAC play. The Cabrini College golf team finished third, posting a team score of 340 at its annual Cabrini College Spring Golf Invitational. Sophomore Rob Bass led the Cavaliers with an 80 on par. For professional sports, one of the greatest golfers of all time, Tiger Woods, has qualified for the biggest tournament of the year. The 2012 Masters will take place the first week of April. National sensation quarterback Tim Tebow spoke for 30 minutes at a news conference held in the team's fieldhouse. Tebow will be accompanying Mark Sanchez on the New York Jets. That's all I have for you this week. Be sure to tune in next week for more sports coverage.
Now let's check in with Holly to see how the Hunger Games did at the box office this weekend.
The much-anticipated book-to-movie adaptation, The Hunger Games, premiered this past weekend, and it is safe to say that the movie did beyond amazing at the box office. In its opening weekend, the movie brought in over $150 million and made it the third best opening weekend for a movie to date, behind Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 and The Dark Knight. The Hunger Games did better than any film in the Twilight series to date. Bobby Brown, the one-time husband of the late Whitney Houston, was arrested for a DUI Monday afternoon. The singer was reportedly pulled over for talking on his cell phone while driving, and during the stop, police noticed signs of intoxication. After failing field sobriety tests, Brown was arrested. He spent 2 hours in custody and was released on his own recognizance. That's all I have for you this week. Be sure to stay tuned in to LOQation for the latest updates and entertainment news.
After an amazing season, Melissa Webb sat down with Coach Kahn about the experience of leading the men's basketball team to the NCAA championship. Let's check our Person of the Week.
Hello, I am Melissa Webb with your Person of the Week, and this time we have Coach Marcus Kahn. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you.
So you just led the men's basketball team to the NCAA championship for the first time. Tell me about that.
It was a wonderful experience. I think our guys really learned a lot about themselves and our group as a team. As we made the run through the tournament, it's a special time. Get to the Final Four is everybody's goal at the beginning of the year. So to be one of the teams to reach that goal is a great accomplishment for our team.
You've been at Cabrini for 4 years. Have you done anything differently this time?
Not really. It was just, I think it was a combination of getting the right fit of our team, the right chemistry with our team, having some guys experienced who've been in our system for a couple of years now, and being confident playing together for an entire season obviously helped us a lot along the way, but we really didn't do there's no magic potion, or we didn't try any new tricks this year.
So the nickname for the team now is the Unit. How did that come about?
They started it themselves, and I really like that they came up with that, because we preach to them every day about being a team and being together and all about teamwork. So for them to come up with a unit was really cool, and it's something that stuck, and we used it all year, so it was great.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook as well.
Yes.
I think the entire campus is now using it.
Yeah, we had shirts made with it on the back that we wore down there for our shoot-arounds, and people were holding up signs in the stands down in Virginia with the unit on it, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're losing Corey Lemons and John Boyd because they are seniors, so they are going to go ahead and graduate. How do you feel about that?
I feel good for them. I think they've had great careers. I think they can be very proud of their time spent at Cabrini. And that's the sad reality of what we do, that every 4 years you lose guys that you really care about. But it's for a good reason. They're graduating college, they're going to move on and do really well with their lives.
So are you looking forward to next year?
Absolutely.
It was great having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying tuned in with us this week. For LOQation News, I'm Sarah Luckert.
And I'm Bethany Biggenhill. Have a wonderful week, Cabrini.